we can get going. Okay, so if everybody's okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Welcome, Dave.
Motion to call the meeting to order. Is that what you're asking for?
Yeah, I'm just calling the meeting to order. Just, we're gonna get started, and it looks like, let's see, instead of doing a full roll call, we'll say, it looks like Mr. Cola and Chuck. Chuck said he wasn't going to be here, so those are the only two missing people. And so the agenda, thank you, Kevin, for putting the agenda up. As you can all see it. Is everybody okay with that? You have any additions? We could have anything else at the end if there's anything.
That's fine by me.
Looks good.
Okay, great. Okay, so then we'll get started. I just wanted to touch base firstly on committee updates. I know that the Greenhouse Gas Committee's been active, and we'll take that second, but just wanted to see if anybody else I know the committees I'm on officially. I haven't been able to do much on that yet. But hopefully as we go into September, I can work with, I think it's, let's see, Charles, who's on the legislation committee with me? It's either Charles or Bill, one of the two.
No, I'm on reuse.
Okay, so it must be Chuck. Okay, so I don't know, Barbara, outreach, anything yet? And okay, so let's go through.
I'm on that, and so was Cola.
Yes.
And I did send out an email a little bit about, I think, what our group can accomplish, or at least have as a mission statement. And then I gave my availability as far as when we could have meetings. And so I just would I'll just need a reply from Miss Barbara and Mr. Cola as well. But
I don't think I got any email about that, Nyla.
Well, I just sent it today. So, yeah, just check your email.
Let me look.
Yeah.
Okay, so great. So thank you. So Nyla.
You just sent it 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
sorry.
Nyla, are you willing to be the lead in that group?
Sure, for the time being.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So that was my question, Nancy. Who is the lead? Is the first name listed on each of these?
No,
not?
No, I think we should just go through each committee. If people are willing, we'll go through each one. So if Nyla, if you're willing, I mean, or somebody else, but I know Barbara, you have a lot, and Mr. Cole isn't here, so.
Good time to make him chair.
Well, if Nyla's willing to do it, that would be great.
Sure.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And okay, great. So if you all get yourselves organized and set up a time to touch base and figure out things you want to do, there's a lot of activity related to outreach that's happening around all the plans, the compost. There's just a lot going on, so it should be it's a good committee and a lot to potentially to do. Okay, so the legislative committee is just myself and Chuck. He's not here, so I'll talk with him. Maybe he'll be willing to take the lead on that. Okay, the future initiatives is Chuck, Mr. Cola, Barbara, and David. Two of the committee members aren't here, but
No.
and you guys are, I don't know.
Okay, I'll do it.
Okay. Okay, David's lead for greenhouse gas, and
you should be for reuse. You're
okay, well, I'll be the lead for that. Be that as it may. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, so anybody who's the lead, please go ahead, and the first tasks are to just think about what you would like to try to get done by the end of the year. Kevin, are the reports that are they by fiscal year or calendar year?
Calendar.
They're calendar year. Okay, that right? Yes, you're nodding, yes?
Yes,
You-
it's by calendar.
Okay, okay, by calendar year, thank you. Okay, so we've got September, so it's September, November, December, we have 5 months. So whatever you think, one or two things you think we can accomplish in the next 5 months as a goal would be really great. Not saying we couldn't do other things or add to it, but it would be nice to have each committee with something they'd like to get done and try to get it done. So it can be simple. It doesn't have to be a complicated thing. It could be just reviewing plans, or I don't know, whatever you guys want to come up with. If you need help or want ideas, you can just contact me also, or one of the other commissioners to give feedback on that. Okay, so hopefully we'll have, for September would be really great, because it's the 3rd week, to have everybody at least having touch base with their committees and got at least one thing that they want to get done. Is everybody okay with that? Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Nyla? Yeah, good?
Yep. Yep.
Okay,
That's a
great.
good idea.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so greenhouse gas, they have already gotten active. And I appreciate that. So David, do you want to talk about, I did send out on behalf of the committee, a draft letter, and the questions that a number of people had put together from the committee. You want to explain everything? I'll step back.
Sure. Yeah, I think the committee met a week or so ago, and we just went through some of these questions, which I think you've now received, which we would like to pass on to the Department of the Environment. I think it's our intention to meet at least once a month between meetings. And if the calls for it, for some particular reason, we may meet more often than that. But I think we think that this committee and probably the other committees should be taking an active role. So we're going to try to meet at least, like I said, once a month between meetings. I don't know if you had a chance to really read through some of the questions. We had a series of questions we were posing. And if you have additional questions you think are important to ask regarding greenhouse gas and particularly methane, please either let us know tonight or send me an email and with that question or questions. I want to ask the commission tonight if they've had a chance to look at any of these questions. It is a relatively long list, but we think they were also all questions that we should be asking. I think one of the things in particular that we're concerned about is we keep hearing each month that the pipeline, the gas pipeline going from Brown Station to the county correction facility is 95% complete. And we really want to understand just what that means. Does that mean the actual line is actually complete? Or we also know that before you build a line, you also have to get a permit from DPI. And is that the 95% that's complete? And if it is, how long does DOE expect it will take to actually finish that pipeline and get gas moving through that line again? And I think another question we had was,
And wait a minute, I'd just like to interject on that you say we've heard for months. Dave, you and I have been on this SWAC for over 2 years, and I think it was the first or second meeting that we were told this 95% number. So that's over 2 years, not months.
Yeah.
I do have a status update on that. I don't know if now is the appropriate time or later, but I do have an update.
Nancy,
Cool.
do you think it's, should we?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's fine. I mean, so Marilyn, just hold on for 1 second so we can, thanks, I appreciate that. So Dave, let me just cut in here for a second. So the committee had a lot of discussions about about this issue, and I think what became clear as mud was that the committee didn't understand, and thank you, Barbara, for making that point, was just making the point that the committee members, commissioners didn't feel like they understood the real timeline and the real activity. So that's what prompted. So the letter is just a request really for a more detailed status update from the department about how this started. So, you know, when did this actually start and the impact? So asking for a lot more detailed information. The questions are to guide the departments, providing whatever information that they're going to provide in more detail. That's what the group is asking for. So, right, David, that's it. So if everyone's okay with sending that request, or if you want to, the letter's pretty straightforward. It just says we're asking for a status update on this, and there's an enclosed list of questions. There's really not a whole lot more to it. And part of it is that the sentiment expressed at the committee was that the committee wants to help and support the department and advocate for whatever needs to happen in terms of pushing this forward. I did get an email from Chuck that said he thought we should copy several other people, including, I don't know if the county executive is copied on that, but copy the head of DPI on it as well. So that was his suggestion, and I can forward that to people if you'd like. So it's really the first part is just the committee, as part of SWAC, wants to send this request. So I guess, I'm not sure whether we really need to take a vote on it, but we'd like to send a request for further information. So discussion, any thoughts?
My suggestion, this is Jonathan. My suggestion is, why are we copying DPI? DPI don't really give the permit for greenhouse pipeline or methane pipeline. All that is done by MDE. Department of the MDE, they were the ones that they were the permitting agent for stuff like that, not DPI.
Well, and it wasn't originally in there to copy them, but I think it was Marilyn last time, or Kevin had mentioned that the permitting was what we do know is that there was an issue related to the water and the impact on the pipeline, and that DPI was involved in that. Marilyn, can you say more about that?
That's correct. DPI is the reviewer of the design plan and the approval of that design, and they issue the permit. That's correct.
Are we talking about the methane gas line or the water line?
The gas, the methane, the landfill pipeline from the landfill that transmits the landfill gas to.
Okay. Is there any way we can get a copy of the plan?
Yeah, just send that request over, Nancy.
Yeah.
I guess you guys are going to vote on it, and then we'll respond.
Because we just did not at the methane line now, but the replacement of existing water line at the solid waste facility, and I was involved in that as one of the project managers, and that was handled by WSSE and the MDE. DPI has absolutely nothing to do with it.
Yeah, well, we're talking about the landfill gas pipeline.
Okay.
Okay, so Marilyn, so here's a suggestion. Thank you, Jonathan. What is in the letter to make a request for the plan.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. We'll add that.
And Marilyn, maybe you're going to clarify some of these things that we've been kind of wondering about for a while, but we keep hearing the 95%. Does that mean 95% toward a completion or the actual?
So Dave, actually, Dave, before we get into questions at the
Yeah.
status piece, let's just finish up. So I'm just gonna put a
Okay.
motion on the table that we send this request for information
Yeah,
from
so-
SWAC to
so
DOE.
Sorry to interject. We are requesting for a copy of the approved plan for the methane gas line. We need to
Okay.
be specific. We don't
Okay.
just plans, we want the approved plan so that we know who is the approval agency, the review agency and all that. All that will be on the approved plan. That's what we need.
Well,
Okay,
we
so-
wanted, if there is a plan that is already approved, if the plan isn't approved, we want
The
the
plan
tentative
has to be
plan.
approved for them to do anything.
Right, and we don't
Okay.
believe it's approved, but we're gonna hear that from Marilyn.
No, we need approved plan. We don't know if there's an approved plan or not. We just make it.
We'll hear it from Marilyn. Let's give her a chance
Okay.
to speak.
Okay.
Okay, Marilyn, can you answer this question? Is there an approved plan or not?
No, so the 95% that I've reported on in the past to SWAC was referring to the design plan,
Okay. Okay,
not construction. You have to have the design plan that's developed by the engineering firm reviewed and approved and for the permit to be issued. So you can't start construction until the permit is approved.
Okay.
So
That's correct.
in that case, Marilyn, and respectfully, Jonathan, I think we are asking for not the approved plan, since there isn't one. We're asking for the submitted plan.
What? No, we need approved design plan.
But if there isn't one,
There
There's
is one.
there's no approved plan.
Design, not even a design plan.
It's not approved.
It's not approved. Then we
No.
need to get a copy of the submitted design plan. How about that?
that's exactly what I said.
Okay.
Another
Cool.
person that would be interested.
okay, so I am modifying my motion to include the letter and the list of questions to include a request for the submitted design plan as well. Okay,
Exactly.
okay, all right, so can I get a second?
I second.
Second,
Okay, Jonathan and Barbara second, okay. All in favor, raise your hand, I can see
Aye.
you. Okay,
Aye.
so
Oh, hold on.
Nyla, did you raise your hand?
I raise my hand.
Hand raised.
Do you say yes? Just tell me. Oh, there it is. Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay, okay. So we have unanimous. Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, thank you. We can move on. Okay, so Marilyn, go ahead. Please provide an update. Thank you.
Okay, so the update is the 95, the plan that when we were reporting was 95% complete. So DPI, we talked about before, rather DPI was going to allow the gas pipeline to traverse the bridge in like kind as it does now. It's encased within the concrete of the bridge. It does not go in or under or it through the stream. So DPI has rejected that design. And so it has to go back to the drawing board with the engineering firm. So we're talking about a significant delay. It will also require, of course, other approval agencies review and permitting, because it appears now it's going to involve stream work. I don't have yet, but we're waiting on the consultant's revised schedule and the additional cost. So
Marilyn?
what we do know is it will be, I'm expecting at least a 1-year delay. That's not, I
Marilyn?
don't know, but that's what I'm expecting. Mm-hmm.
Marilyn, respectfully, and I'm not trying to be a pain in the butt here, but why is it that we have heard for over 2 years, it's 95% complete, and it just goes to DPI now to get rejected and put back on the drawing board.
I kind of take a little bit of exception. I don't think I've been saying for 2 years it's been 95% complete.
Lee did back when he was, so maybe I should blame it on Lee. He told us that back when he was.
I know I've been saying that probably for, I mean, I think it was either the 2 meetings ago or 3 meetings ago. We could go back and look at the recordings when I explained the situation.
Yeah, no, but Lee told us back when he was honcho 2 years ago.
But within the request Nancy's going to be sending over to us, we can most definitely provide the timeline and the key, steps within from conception to where we are now. So we can certainly, when we get that request, we'll work on getting that back to SWAC.
Okay.
So, but still, why wasn't DPI in? I mean, it's been 4 years that this pipeline, I believe, is wanting to be reconstructed. Why is it that DPI is just now getting involved enough to reject the whole idea of doing it like you guys want to?
Well, if you recall, and again, we'll put this in the outline that we'll provide. But if you recall, when I previously explained it, there were it's not just getting the design, but there's a process that the county has to go through even before the county hires a consultant, because you have to go through the budget approval process to get the funding included and approved in our capital improvement program, the CIP, we call it budget. And then once that's done, we have to go through procurement to get, a bid has to be put out because the service is bid out, competitively. And then once the bid's let and awarded, then there's a process of getting the purchase order issued. And then once all that takes place, that's when the consultant is then formally contracted with the county to begin working on what's called a concept plan. That concept, the concept plan, which also can be called like a site development plan, is submitted to the regulatory agencies, in this case DPI, and it may have had to go through, I'm not 100% sure at this moment, but it may have needed Soil Conservation District's review too. I'm not 100% sure on that. But once the concept approval is given, that's when they move into the design. And what I was reporting on a few months ago, I think it was, is they were up to the 95% submittal with DPI. And in between all of that, from the initial design being submitted to where we are now, usually there's, and I don't know, and that we can outline as how many submissions have went back and forth between the engineering firm and DPI, because oftentimes when an engineering firm submits a plan for a commercial or any kind of project, usually, there's comments that have to be addressed. They have to go back to their design, they resubmit it. And so sometimes it's not uncommon that review process goes back 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, right.
So Marilyn, let me ask still, I'm still totally confused. If you had the previous pipeline running through, under, within, whatever, the bridge.
The bridge. Mm-hmm.
And you then wanted to replace with the same thing. You go through budget, you go through procurement, you go through purchase order, you then are doing this. Why not early on just easily check with DPI? This plan okay with you guys? I mean, that could have saved so much time and money.
That was done. So
DPI had said it was okay, and then they went back on their word?
Not their word.
Well, on their pronouncement? I mean, so you had early on checked with DPI and they had said that this plan to put it under, within the bridge was okay. And now have changed and say it's not? What
I'm going to say is their last review, they said we can't it can't be done
But
that way.
were they ever consulted within the previous
course.
4 years?
Of course, yes.
Marilyn, one question I have is I know there's usage of the methane from Brown Station within the Brown Station facility itself to run some generators or something. Is that usage going through a different pipeline or is that the same pipeline? And if it's a different pipeline, is that one also having to be replaced? And
No, we only have the one pipeline.
you only have, so that's supplying
we're-
those
we're-
generators that are on
we're-
site?
We're flaring right now. We're flaring the gas.
Yeah, but there were generators on site that were also being run by that methane, correct? Outside of the correctional facility. That's
There's
what I
no,
was,
yeah, there's no gas going to the DOC.
oh, well, yeah, okay. Yeah, I understand that. What I was asking if the generators at Brown Station Road, that methane is running through the same pipeline. If it is, that's fine. If it's not, is there a second plan that has to be developed for that equipment's usage of that methane? And if so, does that have to cross that creek, or since it's within the Brown Station facility, it's not crossing the creek, so it won't have to deal with DPI's objection for whatever is going underneath the creek since it's spurred off before it even gets to the creek?
No, anything that goes under the creek have to go through the soil conservation.
It's
That
what?
is that's soil conservation. Well, that is the standard procedure. You can't just take anything under the creek without going through the soil conservation.
But if you don't need to cross the creek to get to those generators, it shouldn't be an issue.
Well, I don't know, but
So the county, and Kevin, I think, Kevin, did you share the link for the request for information or the RFI for beneficial use of landfill gas?
I believe I shared it with Nancy, the link to the RFI.
I don't remember seeing that, but I can look.
Can you share it with everyone, Kevin, please?
Sure. Yep.
So there has been a request for information issued by MES on behalf of the county
yes, yeah.
for entities to respond. So we are exploring, other beneficial uses of the landfill gas. Still, that RFI process is still open, so we don't have any of the responses yet.
Okay.
And as far as going, Bill, back to your question about I call it our engine room. I think I'm the only person that calls it our engine room.
Good for me.
Yep. So right now what's happening is, like I said, we are flaring the gas, but
Right.
we have been maintaining and doing work on the engines, because you can't just shut down infrastructure like that
Right.
for, a year or two without, there's still things you have to do to those
Maintain it.
engines to
Right.
keep everything oiled, so to speak.
Right.
So we do perform necessary maintenance and lubrication, oil. You can't just
Yeah,
let it
yeah,
sit.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but
understand.
but the gas, and I think we've been pretty transparent about this. The gas is being flared.
Okay.
You know
Yeah,
how much?
The
So-
old pipe, just so everybody understands. So the old pipeline between the landfill and the DOC, Department of Corrections, it was decommissioned. So that means there's no gas at all going through that pipe. It's completely decommissioned. It's shut down.
Okay.
Okay, but the pipeline that runs it, so it goes from where the collection place over to near to where the generators are, and from there to the
Mm,
correctional facility. And so the shutdown is in that latter part. but
No,
it
it's
isn't-
No, it's the whole thing.
The gas is not going to the engine room. It's
Okay.
being flared. It's
Okay,
going to
and
our,
do you
going
have
to our
any,
flare.
do you have any measurement of the amount of gas you are flaring, or is
Yeah,
that
and I
not
know,
measured?
and in all fairness, I know that you asked that, I think it was the last meeting. And I forgot what measurement of unit you wanted it in, but we have to get,
Any unit
I
you
don't have
measure
that
it in.
answer yet. Yeah, I don't have that yet. I do know 100% is being flared, so I'll have to get, we still owe you that information. I have to get that from the engineer.
Yeah, would love to know the amount of gas, and in any unit that you measure it is great.
Okay, okay.
Marilyn, I'm just curious, Kevin had shared with me, I think EA Engineering, was EA Engineering the pipeline management company, or is EA Engineering the company, or is it a one and the same doing the design work?
Yeah,
Mhm.
EA is the engineering firm that was the successful bidder, and they're the ones doing the design. Yes.
Okay. But there was a different firm that had been, I guess he said the county, I guess, had managed the pipeline.
Yeah, so this project is actually managed by our Office Essential Services. We refer to them as OCS, in consultation with our division for certain expertise. And our department is funding the project, but it is being managed. The project manager for the county is the Office Essential Services, not our division. We're not the manager of the project.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we don't make decisions on it, but we can provide, input and our expertise to OCS.
That's because it's an infrastructure project?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
And it, which involves multiple agencies.
Right, okay. Okay, that's really helpful. Okay, any other questions on this pipeline question?
Yes, is this the timeline you would have expected 4 years ago when you wanted to replace it? Or what has been the cause of the slowdown until now, between then and this bridge issue? In the intervening 4 years, what has been the slowdown, if that wasn't the timeline you would have expected?
Well, that's a very loaded question. I mean, in our division or our department, I can say we did not expect it to be this long of a project. And that's evident by how we put the funding in our budget. Because each year we have to what's called a carry forward with the CIP funds for capital improvement projects. You're allowed to carry funds over, opposed to like our operational budget. We're not allowed to carry over. So if you don't spend your operational budget, you lose that funding. But the CIP projects can carry forward. And so no, we were not expecting this type of timeline.
And so what has been what has been the cause?
Well, that's what, when we get the requests from Nancy, we're going to provide that timeline of, dates of where it was. So then you'll be able to see the process and how long in between each step it took. And
Marilyn,
I would say a majority, without looking at the timeline, right now, I would say probably a majority of the timeline's been, the design and the, DPI
And don't
reviews.
forget you had COVID in there too, so that kind of threw a monkey wrench into everything.
Yeah, I mean, I know the budget and procurement and the bid and all that takes time as well. So that was a big chunk, but I would say more than, half that time on that schedule, you'll see the various iterations of the design plan
Back and forth.
Let me ask,
going back and forth between the engineering firm and the DPI's agency.
Let me ask how you can put into the budget a request if you don't know if the thing can easily be stuck a pipe back in concrete, or if you have to go through some very complicated other process of
Well, at the
getting
beginning, at the beginning, we get cost estimates. And so we budget those cost estimates, and then, as we get better numbers, we adjust the budget. In this case, since it's been rejected basically because of the bridge issue versus going through the stream, we know it's going to be a hit, so to speak, to the budget because it's going to cost more money. And we're waiting on getting that cost estimate. And then, of course, the county's going to have to figure out, where to get that extra money from.
I have a question. Is MES Maryland Environmental Services, are they involved with this project and what type of involvement are they in?
No, the county's procurement issued the bid.
So
This is Office of Central Services.
okay, through Office of Central Services, okay.
Yes.
So MES is not involved, okay.
Okay. All right, guys. Okay, I don't know, Dave, if you wanted to also check in with Marilyn about, in terms of the committee, the other topic that came up was the study, University of Maryland study. I don't know if you want any update on, I think the document's been signed, but Marilyn, is there a quick update on what's happening with that?
No, I'm going to defer for Kevin to provide that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so the draft collaborative agreement was reviewed by RRD, DOE, and our Office of Law, and it has been forwarded back to UMD for signature. So the ball is with them now to have the document signed and then send back to us for signature by the county. So we're just waiting for the document to be signed by UMD.
That's where it was a month ago.
Does UMD know that you're waiting for them?
Yes, I keep on reminding them that we're just waiting for the signed document so we can proceed with the study.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you, Kevin.
Sure.
Dave, I don't know if is there anything else you want to bring up at this point?
I just have one more question of Marilyn, and this,
Okay.
I don't want to belabor this, although I guess we have been belaboring it. If I worked for a city agency up in Baltimore for many years, and I know about the kind of working for a bureaucracy. Sometimes there's a series of things you have to go through. There's a process. If you have something though that is you want to call a priority, and I guess a lot of people think everything they're doing is a priority. In this case, I'm just wondering if there's any way that your agency can try to push something a little more quickly, because it should be a priority. At least I think this is a priority. I think we all think it's a priority. I don't know if there's a way of short-circuiting some of this process, but I'm just wondering if you have an emergency, for instance, an agency may have to do something special to get do something more quickly. And so I'm just wondering about if there's possibility of that, and why. Again, I guess my question is why it was first approved by DPI and then it was rejected. I'd like to know how that happened, what their answer was for rejecting it.
Well,
That's all.
the design plan was never approved. It went through different iterations of review. And we'll put all that on the timeline.
Okay.
Okay. Marilyn, thank you
You're
for all that.
welcome. You're welcome.
Appreciate it. There's just been a lot of questions, so it's very helpful and appreciate it. Okay, so moving on to the council ex officio position. I did hear back from Tom Dernoga's person today. Michelle, Chief of Staff, said that the request has now been put forward to the council administrator, and it's in their court. I'm not exactly sure what the time frame of that really is, or if that means that they've actually put a name forward. I will try to confirm that with her, but it does feel like there's some movement. I know that Eric Olson's office, Council Member Olson's office, has also been supportive and helpful in that. So I'm hoping that we can get some movement, and maybe by September, I mean, who knows what the time frame. I've been trying to get a time frame. But I'd like to get that set up as soon as possible. So anyway, that's where that currently stands. Okay. Since there's been so many questions about so many things, we thought it might be useful to have just a brief update on the Resource Recovery Divisions, just their activities during the month prior, and just anything notable, any positive movement, victories, anything that's challenging. But I think it might be helpful to have an update for the commissioners just every month. So I think Marilyn, I presume, or Kevin.
Yeah, so Kevin, if you want to take the lead first, because Kevin has some updated information
Okay, great.
on the compost and the
Okay.
Good.
better bag. Yeah, thank you.
So concerning the bag bill rollout plan, DOE's communications team has been tasked to develop the outreach plan, and they're looking at the outreach plan made by other jurisdictions, and also the communications team is working with the county executive's office communications team to have the plan firmed up and implemented, but there's no timeline yet. But of course, the start of this, the implementation of this bill is from January 1st. So we're hoping that the outreach plan can be developed and implemented soon. On the straw ban update, so this bill was put into effect from July 2020, and our recycling inspectors have been doing inspections on businesses for compliance. Of course, there are issues that are being encountered by our businesses, like supply chain issues, but our division is really just are consistent with making sure that our businesses are compliant with the law. So this is still in progress. This is not an overnight thing that can be, complied with by businesses, but according to our recycling inspectors, many of the big like fast food shops have transitioned to paper straw or reusable straw as part of their compliance with the law. So that's the straw ban update. For the
Kevin, how many inspectors do you guys have? And what was done to initially announce to the businesses that they had to comply? Because you obviously can't just send an inspector out unless you let the businesses know of the change in regs.
Yeah, we have 5 inspectors with one of the positions being vacant, which we're interviewing for. Of that 5 inspectors, one of the 5 is a supervisor. The county did do a direct mailer to all of the businesses in Prince George's County and also to the residents concerning the law, and then pushed it out, the information on other social media platforms, as well as a newspaper ad. But they did
Mail?
get direct mail concerning
Sure.
the ban before it was implemented.
So do we,
Marilyn?
Mhm.
go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. If you want to go into a store and you find that they're still using plastic straws, is there a number or place someone could go to report that they aren't complying?
Yes, so it would be the PGC 311,
Okay,
and that they will get that over to our inspectors.
thank you.
You're
Is it-
welcome.
Do you all have a record of how many inspections have been performed? Because it's been 3 years. And have any fines been actually levied?
Yes, we do have a record of number of inspections and re-inspections. Now, not every business is going to get the same exact type of inspection, because let's say you're inspecting a, I don't know, let's say an attorney's office building, and they don't serve food or drink. So the inspector may, in that case, be inspecting to make sure that they have a recycling program set up. There's interior receptacles as well as exterior receptacles, but they're not necessarily inspecting to see if they're providing, plastic straws to customers, or, polystyrene or styrofoam food trays. So, yes, I just wanted you to be aware, not every inspection is going to be exactly the same.
So, Cypress, so you know how many inspections of the food establishments that your inspectors have done, and again, have any fines been levied?
I don't know. I'd have to go back and check to see. We do have a tally of all the inspections performed and re-inspections. I don't know if that's further broken down into, whether or not it was a business that would, provide straws in, like, styrofoam trays. So I don't want to answer that yet and see how the data is recorded. And we do have a record of violation notices. I will tell you that there have been, I can say this for certain, there have been no citations issued, but there have been, I'm fairly certain we've issued some violation notices. And of course, at that point, they have a certain number of days to come into compliance. And knowing that there's been no citations issued, what that means is that after they received a violation notice, they did come into compliance.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have to raise the other issue about this that's been brought to my attention, which I think you all know about, is the issue of the PLA number 7 use. And I was someone shared with me that the county had said that they were allowing the restaurants to not comply with the home composting standard, but complying with the industrial standard. If that's
That's correct. So many of the manufacturers of the PLA straw do carry a certification that their product is not just commercially compostable, but they also have certification for home compostable and marine compostable. So I know that's something the Sierra Club is concerned about, because the claim that's being made, and we researched this quite a bit. So some of them, the PLA straws are saying is made out of primarily like either cornstarch or sugar. And they do have a certification, like I said, for not just home compostable, but marine compostable as well. And so if the intent is to not allow that type of PLA straw and only to allow paper straws or truly, like, a bamboo reusable straw, for instance, then really what we're recommending is that there should be perhaps an amendment made to the original bill that goes through county council. Because if the intent is only, like I said, to paper straw, it should just say paper straws. Because the way it's written, and then, a PLA manufacturer has a home compostable certification,
Right, it's confusing.
exactly.
So Marilyn, or people, I was a bit involved with that from the Sierra Club in the wording of it, what the council did. And they discussed making it only paper, when you're suggesting that they should make an amendment for that. They specifically didn't want to do that because what they care about is that it is home compostable. They're not trying to push the answer being paper. They're trying to push any innovative
Right, and these
chemistry that allows it.
Right, and these PLA manufacturers have a home compostable certification. So our inspector cannot tell them you can't use that straw because they have a certification that says it's home compostable.
The standard is in the Maryland code I read, so.
No, I have that. Yep.
Okay, well, I would suggest, so we're not gonna get this all figured out, but thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
I do think that this is something the commission, one of the committees could take up and look at. And we could make a suggestion for a clarifying amendment if need be, and figure out what that language needs to be to make it, because if the definition is confusing that the manufacturer is using, that doesn't help anybody.
Yeah, and I will share with you that I'll say a majority, most of the businesses that we have inspected have switched over from the plastic straws to the PLA straws. That's been primarily the solution and product that they've moved to.
Right, my understanding that product does not decompose.
Yeah, yep, I've read, oh God, I did so much research on this. Yeah, I can find equal numbers of research on both sides, and that is what makes it so convoluted. And so, yeah, that's what I'm saying, that
How does our compost facility treat those straws? Do
Oh,
they
we
accept them or do they reject them?
Oh no, we accept them. Yep.
It's a lower level, the heat required for the decomposition, my understanding, Marilyn, you can correct me because I'm no expert, but that my understanding is that it's the amount of heat that's generated in an industrial capacity, like at our compost facility versus, in my backyard,
Yeah, probably. Right.
Or just out in the
But if
environment,
my
somebody
memory-
throws a straw on the side of the road, it's not going to decompose.
Yeah, I think if my memory serves me right, I think that temperature was 130 degrees. Don't quote me on that. I think that's what I remember though. But so yes, it probably will eventually break down in a home composting pile, but it's probably going to take much longer than in a commercial. If you think about it, how large our heaps are compared to a heap in the backyard, you know what I mean? So it's going to generate a lot more heat.
Right. Well, that's the thing. The industrial size generates a tremendous more heat. And in a home composting situation, I mean, the rest will decompose, but those straws will still be there intact. Okay, I'm just going to recommend that one of our committees maybe we take this issue up and work with Maryland and DOE to begin to look at, to understand the issue better and figure out what makes sense.
Should that be under legislation or future initiatives?
I'd say let's put it under future initiatives. I think or we can work on it together, but there's a bigger group in there, might make more sense.
Okay, great.
Okay, all right, great. Marilyn, thank you. And we may come back to you for more information.
Okay, sure, you're welcome.
Okay, so just let's wrap up. We'll take care of sort of these other agenda items while we're doing this update. The agenda just disappeared, but that's okay. I got my agenda here. I just wanted to mention, Kevin, the rollout plan. I was curious, are you looking at, is DOE looking at the Salisbury plan?
Yes, we're looking at the Salisbury one, the City of College Park, and there's at least 2 or 3 other ones.
You know which other, where else? I sent out to all the SWAC members, I think I sent out a copy of the Salisbury plan. You all have it. I don't know if what else, College Park is still, my understanding is, I don't know if they've shared it with you, but they haven't released it yet. And I think, is it Greenbelt? There's another municipality that's doing something.
Yeah, there's at least, I think, 4 or 5 local jurisdictions, and I can't remember the other 3 off the top of my head.
Okay. You know, Kevin?
So sorry, I got disconnected.
That's okay. So I was just asking, I went back and was asking about the Better Bag Bill rollout. And Marilyn confirmed it was one of the plans that you all are looking at is the Salisbury plan. Another one is College Park, and maybe you, I haven't seen that one yet. And I don't know who else is the department. What other plans are you all looking at?
Let me check. Are you referring to the compass rollout? Sorry.
No.
No, the bag bill. The bag bill.
Kevin, I was saying, I know for a fact we're looking at the Salisbury plan, City of College Park. Another one that we're looking at is how New Jersey, the state of New Jersey, because that was a statewide ban on plastic bags. And then, so there's at least 2 others that I can't think of off the top of my head, but I think there's at least 4 or 5 different plans that we have, including contact people that we're working with to review how they did it.
Okay, great. Okay, good. No sense in reinventing the wheel. Okay, great. Okay, Marilyn, other updates or RD updates?
So for the 10-year plan, so we have submitted a draft document to our municipalities, WSSC and Park and Planning, and they have until August 18 to submit their comments. We also submitted a draft copy to MD for their courtesy review, and they will send us back their comments before end of this month.
Okay, so we anticipate, from me looking at the dates on other approved plans, it looks like the public copy will likely be made available in September.
That's correct. Yes, around September.
Okay, so that's just a heads up. It's on our agenda. Just a heads up to everybody that the plan will be released. I also recommend, I don't think I sent out, I have a list of links for you all. I don't think I sent it, but I will. And of course, you can just go to the county website under DOE Waste and Recycling. All the documents are there. But it probably would be good for us to start looking at the old document as soon as we can, to start getting familiar with it. I was much more familiar with the 2017 document, and we'll receive the 2024 document sometime in September. And how long will there be for public comment, Kevin?
Days.
What?
Hold on. I'm having an issue with my signal. It's for 10 days.
Wow, that's fast.
For public comments, yes.
10 days?
It's based on the county council calendar. So they will allow the public to provide comments 10 working days.
But this plan is over 100 pages long.
It's hundreds. It's 200 something pages.
Oh.
Kevin, I was just looking, Kevin, I was looking
Yes.
at something today called the Solid Waste Advisory Commission that says consolidated suggestions for the 2024-20, I guess it's the 10-year plan. Who produced that document? It's like a 2 or 3 page document.
That's the we had submitted quite a while ago these comments in the spring, and these are the answers. Is that correct?
Yes. So we have responded to your comments, which you submitted in spring. So it outlines our key responses to your questions, comments, and suggestions.
So I don't know, we could send a letter to the county council and saying we think that's too short a time frame. I don't know what they would do with it, but we could request that the period of public comment be longer.
How does the public even know that this document is out there, that they can review it in these 10 days and come up with comments?
So our plan is to post the draft plan on our website for it to be accessible to the public. But I'll check with our legislative liaison to confirm whether it's really 10 days. I'll verify again.
So you're expecting the public to every day check your website to see when the plan comes up, that they find out when they can review it within 10 days? I mean, that seems like a assured way to exclude the public.
Yeah, Kevin, isn't it mandatory? Doesn't MDE do a newspaper ad within the county? Well, let us get back to you on that. I'm pretty sure they do. It's a newspaper ad to alert
Which
the public.
newspaper?
It'll be, it's usually, it has to be a local newspaper within the county.
I mean, we don't get any local newspaper within the county in our area.
Could that be the Washington Post or the Baltimore Sun?
Could be
No.
what time?
Yeah, we'll get back to you and see how
Yeah,
they,
we'll check.
yeah. I know there's a notice, there's a public notice that goes out.
Because I mean, they used to do it in the newspapers that were sent to every county resident, but since that's no longer existing,
Yeah, and then Kevin will get back with our council liaison, but I believe also, the council somehow, pushes it out with respect to what's on their upcoming agenda.
Okay, so Marilyn, other updates from your division?
Just on the compost, rolling out the additional carts. We're still planning on doing it over the winter months, late fall, winter. And the status on that is we're waiting on the execution of the contract with the vendor for the manufacturing and the purchasing of the carts.
I'm just curious, how much are the carts each?
They're about, oh gosh, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong. They're in the range of something like $60, $62 a cart.
Wow.
Yeah.
Something like that. I could be wrong, but that is inclusive of not just the cart, but the delivery of the cart as well.
Okay.
Because they'll have crews come in that distribute the carts. And then as far as the outreach on it goes, the county has decided we're going to be doing that internally. As you are aware, the county had contracted with a vendor during the rollout, this most recent rollout. That contractor's name was LMD. And so now that we have all of the templates and the plan and everything, how it was done last time, our communications within the departments, working with our county executive, I'm sure there'll be some tweaking of it, but it's gonna, it will pretty much mirror what was done the last time, but with some tweaks.
So I'm going to sound again like a broken record, but if this is going to be done by the county, could the Solid Waste Advisory Commission, which I believe the county put in place to help with solid waste things, could they look at this mailing before it's sent out to make comments on it? Or we still are not allowed to look at anything?
I will certainly ask.
Thank you. Please do. And
You're
please,
welcome.
whoever makes the decision, remind them that this is precisely the function of the SWAC.
So Marilyn,
should
is there a timeline for, because the carts are being delivered now, right?
Well, they're not being delivered yet because we're waiting on that contract to be executed. We don't have a signed contract yet. It's
Okay.
going through the procurement process.
So is the plan to mirror when the carts start getting delivered with the rollout, or plan the rollout information in advance?
Well, the outreach, will go first to make sure.
And when do
residents-
you anticipate that starting?
Well, we're hoping, we have it on our plan to roll out carts starting late fall.
Like November? You mean like?
Yeah, like in November. And that's if, we get an executed contract like very soon. So it, depending on when that contract gets executed, we might be looking at January or February.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we're just waiting on that contract.
And you all don't really know what Andrea had said this, but don't really know what the usage is.
When you say usage,
Like how many people are actually using it?
well, we do know the carts are being set out for collections.
Do you keep I have, now I'm in a municipality, but I noticed I just got a cart from Hyattsville, and the cart has a barcode.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh God, it would be great if they could scan every cart.
Well, we do. So our vendor that distributes the carts, they do log in the serial number to the house address. So we have that data. The carts, do have chips in the cart.
Oh.
But we don't yet have the technology embedded within, for instance, like our collections contracts and the trucks, and to be able to utilize the chip technology.
Oh my God.
But
wow.
the carts are chipped. And I will tell you, and we can share these results when we have the report. But so MES did their first, we call it a waste sort, at the compost facility last Monday, looking at some of our, our incoming curbside loads that come in on Monday's collections, to get data such as, okay, what's the percentage of food that's coming in the loads versus, yard trim. So that's going to give us some data, as well as they're looking, of course, for contamination, what percentage is coming in. We consider contamination are the things that aren't acceptable to put in a compost program. And, what are the most common types of contamination that is coming in. So that will give us some data on how to, better our, perfect our outreach. Let's just say, for instance, we're seeing a lot of aluminum foil, coming in that people are just throwing in their compost cart. Then we know to target, to make sure people know, no, aluminum foil cannot go in the cart.
But that does go in recycling, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So let me ask, with the carts and talking about them being chipped and whatnot, we it's got to be probably 25 years ago, BFI over the years gave us 2 large composting carts or reuse carts or whatever, which we have been approved to use for our yard wastes and compost. Those are certainly way before anybody had ever heard of a chip. So how would they be counted?
They're not. I mean, we don't have any record of those carts. They probably what that company did at the time is issued you a cart. I don't know if your county issued cart was damaged or.
No, they issued them to every county resident at the time.
Yeah, I researched that because I remember that came up before, and we have.
And I sent in pictures, and then Andrea.
I know you did, but it predated anybody that's here right now, and
Right.
none of us are aware that that ever took place.
Yeah,
But I'm not saying it didn't. We're just
well, I mean,
unaware
it
of
obviously did. I have the cart, and a lot of people in my community use these carts still. And what
Yeah.
about all the people who put out their stuff in the paper compostable bags, which
Oh,
they're
and
told?
that's perfectly fine. You can put.
But it's not. Those are not chipped. So how would they be counted?
Right. Well, remember I said the carts that we distributed. Now the original recycling carts were not chipped, and I think some of the trash carts were chipped and some of them were not chipped. And there was a certain date moving forward that we got budget approval to go ahead and have the carts chipped, because it's not that much more money to have a cart chipped. And that way, if we ever get the technology and with the collections contracts to utilize, those readers on the trucks, then at least our carts from a certain date forward, we know do have chips in them.
Do you know
great.
about when the chips started being used?
Yeah, the chips are not being used. We don't.
No. When they started being put into the carts, about when?
I think it was about. I know all of the organics carts are chipped. I know that for certain. I think some of the trash carts were chipped, but I'm not 100% sure.
So Marilyn, has there been any discussion about, is it just so expensive that it's just way down the road? Or
yeah, on the collection side, it's expensive to have to require all of the collection trucks to have that technology. But, if we ever move into the 21st century, it's there.
okay, so I just want to take one quick step back. So the rollout plan for the compost, so I guess you're going to just base it on when you think the carts are going to be made available. So the rollout plan might happen October, November in terms of outreach.
Yes.
But what happens if the contract keeps getting bumped? You'll just wait?
Yeah. Yeah, because the outreach is going to depend on when we know we have that executed contract.
Okay.
But
all right.
Yeah,
So
the outreach should go out, at least a month prior, and then we recommend a second piece of information go out, 2 weeks before.
right.
But if
Yeah.
it's going out in November, then ideally, maybe by the next SWAC meeting, you might know if SWAC could get involved in perusing over the draft of what is going to be mailed out to make comments.
That may be early, but
Next
Marilyn?
meeting is September. If the carts
well,
are going.
she said they're gonna, when they have the executed contract, I guess it would probably take at least 4 weeks for that to be actually implemented, or I don't know what the time frame is, but Marilyn was saying it should happen a month before.
But they have to write the thing, get it printed, mail it out. All
Yeah.
of that takes time. I mean, why? It's not like the rules of composting are going to change between now and November. So why couldn't we get the text being good right away?
That's a Maryland question.
Okay,
She
let
may
me
have-
ask that question.
She may have stepped out to do something because she's not responding.
Yeah, I'll convey to Marlon, your question, Barbara.
Okay, so any other, since Marilyn seems to have stepped out, I think we're done with all the updates and the timeline and everything else. That gets us to the end of the agenda at 7:18. Any other announcements? Anything else anyone wants to say? We're all good. Okay, very productive meeting, you guys.
It is productive. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Yes.
And I'll second. Thank you. Mr.
Thank you.
Madigan.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.